Hello everyone, my name is Woodman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be talking about criticizing and challenging other people's arguments. This is important because there are going to be moments where you would agree, or you would either agree or disagree with someone's argument, and if you disagree with someone's argument, you need to know how you can effectively and respectfully criticize it. You will also learn how to handle criticisms that you receive from other people. Let's talk about ethos, which is one of Aristotle's three modes of persuasion. In rhetoric, he explained, quote, "Persuasion is achieved by the speaker's personal character when the speech is so spoken as to make us think him credible," unquote. He pointed out that we tend to believe, quote, good men more fully and more readily than others. This is true generally whatever the question is, and absolutely true where exact certainty is impossible and opinions are divided, unquote. It is not true, Aristotle continued, that the, quote, personal goodness revealed by the speaker contributes nothing to his power of persuasion. On the contrary, his character may almost be called the most effective means of persuasion he possesses, unquote. This means that if one's character and reputation are, quote, the most effective means of persuasion, unquote, then it is dangerous to ignore them altogether. Let's say you are debating someone or disagree with their claims. If you are unwilling to critique their credibility, you are giving them an advantage right out of the starting gate. This is especially more important if you believe the other person's argument is not true or misleading. This is a moment for you to challenge the other person's credibility while establishing yourself as more credible. You have to show people that you are a trustworthy and credible person to talk about a specific subject. Let's proceed into understanding the types of ways people criticize another person's ethos, starting with ad hominem. This is something you or someone you have seen use before in public speaking settings. One, there is the abusive ad hominem. This is an argument based on verbal abuse and name calling. It ruthlessly highlights some character flaw, real or imagined, in another person and does not let up. The abusive ad hominem is all about the reputation of the person you are criticizing. If you believe the person is not a good or honest person, if they have been unreliable or valueless in the past, then that should affect how an audience considers their present argument. Two, there is ad hominem circumstantial. This is where you call out a person's claim being driven out by their own circumstances or personal situation, by some hidden bias or conflict of interests, perhaps. Keep in mind that the point of the circumstantial ad hominem is not to dismiss an argument out of hand, but to make sure we apply extra scrutiny to the person making the argument and be aware of and on guard for possible bias. After all, bias affects the way our brain functions, and it can affect how people convey their arguments. So we have to be extra aware if the bias is getting in the way of people's arguments. Three, there is ad hominem to quoque. This focuses on hypocrisy. To quoque literally means you also. A quoque argument goes after someone's argument by zeroing in on any other past words or actions that contradict or cast doubt on their current claims. It highlights how they might advocate a view or position that they don't or can't adhere to themselves. It is like you tell someone to believe in one thing, but you cannot personally believe it too. The point of the ad hominem to quaco is to point out someone's inconsistent arguments and actions that do not match their actual beliefs. For all three of these ad hominems, it is up to you if you want to use one of them, but you want to make sure you apply them in the right way. If you use an ad hominem to dismiss the conclusion of an argument out of hand, then it is indeed a fallacy. Instead, you can make them part of your case to question someone's credibility. If you use an ad hominem argument to question someone's credibility, to raise the issue of bias, or to put someone on the defensive, then these are legitimate and appropriate rhetorical moves that are far from fallacies. The only time an ad hominem argument does not work is when you go after the logos of an argument, because again, that is an attempt to dismiss someone's conclusion. Credibility is an asset in an argument because it shows whether you are being sincere or not. If you have reason to believe someone's credibility is not warranted in a particular situation, then you should not let it stand unchallenged. So now we have established what ad hominems are. Let's go over how to use them. For a start, you need to know everything you can about the person whose argument you disagree with. You have to be willing to examine and research their background, be familiar with their past statements and actions, and any scandals or controversies they may have been involved in that are relevant to your criticism. Once you have enough research to familiarize yourself with the person, here are 3 ways to challenge them. Challenge their character, their credentials, and claims. To challenge their character, you have to identify who the person really is, define who they are, and characterize them. You do not have to go super hard on this challenge, but rather explain something the audience might not know about the person that can reveal their motivations behind their argument. To challenge their credentials, you have to question someone's expertise, authority, and qualifications to talk about a certain thing. To be clear, it is valueless to dismiss someone's argument simply because the person making it lacks the appropriate credentials. That is true enough if someone relies only on concrete evidence, facts, and stats to make their case. But as soon as that person asks the audience to rely on their credentials, then it is fair game to question them. Michael Austin, the academic and rhetoric expert, breaks down the boundary between fallacy and fair play. Quote, "It is not a fallacy to directly review claims that have actually been made. If somebody makes an abstract statistical argument about the effectiveness of a certain medical procedure, then their evidence must stand by itself. However, when somebody says, 'Trust me, I'm a doctor,' then both their integrity and their medical school history becomes completely relevant to the question at hand," unquote. If you have reason to believe someone's credentials fall flat, you can challenge them by asking how good are those qualifications to begin with? How relevant are they to the discussion at hand? And are they overstretching or even misrepresenting themselves? In this case, you can make these objections politely by not name-calling or belittling them. You can ask a series of questions to the person on what exactly they know about the issue, when they became knowledgeable on the topic, and what actual qualifications they have that allow them to make statements on the topic. If the person cannot properly answer them, then it can raise some doubts on the person's credentials. To challenge their claims, this is not referring to the substance of a person's claims, but rather challenging their record of past claims. There are many figures and commentators who have made massive misjudgments on matters of global importance with massively bad consequences. After all, no human being is going to be perfect with every statement they make. Still, we have to hold each other accountable by making sure we are understanding people's track records on statements that were wrong in the past. If they have a long record of constant false statements and misjudgments, then we have to call them out. This is important for establishing a pattern of someone constantly saying false or misleading information and then not changing their tune. You want to criticize a person's appeals to claims of authority, which is the ethos, while also delivering an argument on the merits, which is a logos. Those are the ways to criticize a person's argument. Now, let's proceed into talking about how to handle criticisms you receive from people. After all, people will disagree with your arguments or actions once you put yourself out there. If you do not know how to handle the criticisms, you can either shut yourself down or get emotional that make the dialogue unproductive. So here are some options to handle criticisms you receive. 1, you can say that the person is missing the point of what you were saying, and you can identify what you were actually saying. 2, you can own the other person's criticisms by admitting they are right, apologizing if needed, and move forward. This is where you believe it is not worth it to drag the issue out for a long time and you want to admit what you got wrong here. 3, you can criticize the person back with one of the ad hominem arguments if you believe the other person is not being sincere with their criticism of you. Essentially, your response to someone's criticism will depend on choosing your battles wisely. If you want to engage with that person more or admit they are right and move on. In conclusion, the ad hominem arguments can be seen as high risk, high reward. Get it wrong and your criticism could backfire on you. Get it right and the other person will get defensive. Still, the ad hominem argument is a supplement to, not a substitute for, a substantive argument on the merits. There are going to be certain environments where you can and can't use the ad hominem arguments, so be mindful of how you choose to criticize someone's argument. For the purposes of this video, I am applying this in general and leaving it up to you to decide if you want to use these methods or not. After all, it is your choice to decide if you want to criticize someone or not, and If you do, then you should be prepared with what you want to say in your criticism and how you want to respond to criticism. In the next video, we will be talking about being great listeners. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the changemaker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.